Hello, and welcome to Pandemic Public Speaking. My name is Robert Holtzman, and I have a master's degree in communication. I'm an accredited public relations counselor, for whatever that's worth. And early in my career path, I spent about 10 years being a professional actor and director. I have another screen over here, so I occasionally have to check and see what I'm saying. Well, we've been in this pandemic for about 6 months now, and I, like you, have adapted as well as I can within my circumstances. I also quickly came to realize that everyone has different circumstances. All of us have different devices, if we have devices at all, or access to them, or to the internet for that matter. I'm assuming you've worked that out 6 months into this gig, or we would all be dead without Netflix. Actually, that's one of the best Facebook posts I've seen. Someone wrote, "Just finished Netflix." I realize most of you don't use Facebook unless you're trying to contact the dead or grandma, and that's okay. Every semester, regardless of natural disaster or other perils, the university suddenly adds a new program out of the blue, and they don't teach students and or the faculty how the hell to use it. A couple of semesters ago, it was something called Bongo. Those of you who know that can now forget it. It's gone. There is a new system. You will find it in Canvas, and it is a way to submit your speeches. We will figure it out together. Worst case, we'll use Google Drive, and you give me permission when you send it. Anyway, they publish instructions. I always feel like those instructions have been written by a person for whom English is a second language. They are not accessible. I learn by being reached intellectually and emotionally. Some people learn visually. And as you realize from this current political year, some people don't learn at all. My point, and I do have one, is that I am going to do everything to make this as pleasant an experience for you as possible to get through. I must tell you that the first time I was approached a couple of years ago and asked to teach public speaking online, my reply was, "That's like trying to teach surgery on the radio." I'm deliriously happy to report that now, having taught this course 4 times in the last 14 weeks, I have been pleasantly surprised. Here's the deal. Prior to this summer, before teaching public speaking online exclusively, I have taught it as a hybrid, and I have taught it at least 24 times as an in-person course. The results indicate that online can work. I've had good success both in person, hybrid, and online. Success in this class really requires 2 things. 1, I need to reach out and connect with you. And 2, you need to do the work and do it on time. On Canvas, I believe on Monday morning, the syllabus for the course will be revealed to you. I would read the front of it and the back of it, and the middle of it is like every other syllabus. It's all the FIU rules and regulations. But you will see what the basic layout of the course is and how the grading system works. But I'm going to walk you through that today because it's real long, okay? So, here we go. What I hope to do today is assure you that I can improve you as a public speaker in the next 12 weeks or so. Actually 14 weeks. That the confidence that I think you will gain from presenting your best self in front of an audience will serve you in whatever endeavors you are pursuing. One of the pleasures of teaching this course, and yes, I do enjoy teaching this course, is to see people blossom. And they blossom for those 2 reasons I mentioned. In many cases, I've been able to connect with people, and in those cases where people have put in the work, which I will clearly lay out today, they've developed a confidence that they will apply to whatever they do in life. We have a mix of freshmen, sophomores, juniors, I think a senior, students who are never done, you know who you are, and a couple of smart-ass magnet high school kids somewhere in this group of classes. If we were all together in a single classroom, part of the fun of a public speaking class is that, well, you're all so different and you get to know each other. Because in a single classroom, I have 35 people and probably 15 to 20 different majors for those of you who have chosen a major. You all have different interests and goals. What that means is that we have things to tell each other. All of us come from different backgrounds, and over the semester there's a sense of camaraderie that forms in the class. That is because all of the speeches are presented live to the whole class. Now, if this university or any university, any business, any of us were ready to throw our lives online completely, then we could completely replicate an in-person classroom experience. So I want to be clear about the shortcomings of online teaching. It's not easier. Not for me, and not for you. But I will very clearly today describe exactly what we are to accomplish over the next 14 weeks or so. By the way, it is my intention to finish the course prior to the university's final exam week. I figure you've got enough pressure between school, living, etc. to worry about giving a big speech and passing all of your exams in a single week. So we will be done on December 4th, which is a Friday. Don't worry about that, but that's the last thing you'll turn in. As you know, the course is called Public Speaking. There is a comedian that hopefully many of you have heard of. He's a little older, Jerry Seinfeld. He has said that at any funeral, 60% of the people attending would rather be in the coffin than doing the eulogy. That's true. Probably 60% of the people in this class are not comfortable doing public speaking yet. I'll get you over that. The other 40% of you really don't have any problem speaking in front of a crowd. The difficulty there is that 39% of those people have no idea what the hell they're talking about. So, if you put in the work, both sections of this class will improve. Your grade is based almost entirely on 4 speech presentations. Here are the 4 speeches. 1. The introduction speech. 2. The occasional speech. 3. The informative speech. And 4. The persuasive speech. By the way, I will be emailing you a copy of everything I'm saying right now, just in case you want to double check it if I talk too fast or too slow or something. I'll tell you about each of those speeches in a few moments in pretty good detail. You'll also find descriptions of those kind of speeches on Canvas. There's help with doing outlines when those are required and all those things. So please do read the things on Canvas. I don't use Canvas any more than I have to, and I'll walk you through that as we go here. The other assignments, I've got to have some coffee here. Right? The other assignments consist of 3 homework papers, no longer than 1 page typed, double-spaced, 12-point Times New Roman. You got that? That's about 250 words, but believe me, I'm not counting. Here are the 3 homework assignments. The first 2 are very similar. Listen to any TED Talk you want, not one that I play you in class, but one that you listen to on your own. And by the way, there are hundreds of TED Talks that are under 5 minutes, so you don't have to waste a whole day on this. Listen to any TED Talk, and once you receive, I messed up, but I'm going to keep going because it's time to get this thing done here. Listen to any TED Talk that you want to, okay? You will receive all of the information and the schedule I think you have already in email, so we should be okay there. if you learn better by reading, as I mentioned, all of this is sent to you in an email this morning, so you'll have that as well. That has the lecture word for word. If you have very recently registered for this class, it is possible that you may have figured out how to get into this Zoom meeting, but you may not appear on my roster yet, and in that case, we'll figure it out together. On Canvas, you will find a very clear description of the homework assignments. You simply review the TED Talk and answer some questions. In the first one, they have 5 or 6 questions that you answer. Just answer them within those 250 words or so, and you are fine. The second homework, which will be assigned somewhat later in the term, involves something called Monroe's Motivated Sequence. Don't get excited. I'll teach you all about it. It's not a big deal. That will apply to the second homework assignment. Again, you will listen to a TED Talk of your choice, and you will then apply Monroe's Motivated Sequence to see if this particular speech was presented successfully. Okay? The third homework assignment is different. The third homework assignment is you writing a review of your final speech, that persuasive speech. Okay? Now, let's move on to one of the more dreaded events of any class, the midterm and final exams. Allow me to put your mind at ease. You're not in high school anymore. Well, maybe 2 or 3 of you are, but in this case, you're not in high school anymore. I don't need you to memorize terms. I need you to understand what it is we're talking about in terms of the best way to do public speaking, the best ways to approach it, the best things to notice, and all that. Both the midterm and both the midterm and the final exam are open book tests. They are 20 questions each. I will send them out to you a couple of weeks before they are due. All I expect is that you read the questions, hunt up the answers, which are pretty much in chapters 1 through 6 or so of the textbook, even though we will deal with reading some other chapters and talking about them because there's some value in there. I want you to learn the answers, not memorize them. If they're important points for your own personal improvement, if you read something and you go, hey, I understand that, I can see where that would improve me, remember them. That's it. It's really hard to not get an A on the exam. You get to, look it up. Anyway, on Canvas at the end of the syllabus, you will note how we award the 1,000 points that make up your grade. I am not in charge of making up the syllabus. I'm simply in charge of figuring out how the hell to do it. Make sure you are looking at your specific course and section because different teachers award the points in slightly different ways. I put a lot of emphasis on the speeches because it's public speaking. Okay, so we start out with the easiest one. The introduction speech. That speech is only worth 50 points. If you're going to screw anything up, that's the one to screw up. The introduction speech is roughly, I believe, 1 to 1.5 minutes, to 2 minutes in length, I think. Part of the discipline of public speaking you will learn is to stay within the time frame. Imagine you were on TV and the show's over and you're still talking. Doesn't work. Anyway, we will present these introduction speeches during our second and third Zoom sessions. And you should find this whole schedule in the email that I shipped out to you last, before this. Let's see. It's important that we do this first speech together for a couple of reasons. First, it gives us a chance to be introduced to each other. The fact that we're not in a classroom makes it harder to get to know each other, but it's important that we get to know each other and learn to succeed and fail in front of each other comfortably, okay? So, the first speech we give in front of each other in the class, you'll be on the screen, all the other folks will be watching it, blah, blah, blah. Secondly, I critique each of your speeches right after you give them, not to embarrass you, but because you're going to discover that there really are only about 7 mistakes you can make in public speaking. Once you get over the abject fear, and you will if you have that, once you do research on the topic of your speech, once you have rehearsed properly 5 times, I will say this a lot and explain it, everybody pretty much makes the same mistakes. For me, watching the first speech and also the second speech live, it's like creating your first visit to a family physician. I'm sure my mother would have loved for me to be a doctor. Turns out I'm only a master. But I used to be an actor, so it counts. By hearing you speak that first time, by seeing you deal with the fact that people are listening live to what you're saying, I get to write you a prescription, basically. In Canvas, it's called a rubric. Take a look at it. It's what I do to evaluate your speech. It gives you a point score based on certain factors that are explained in the rubric, and that will be recorded on Canvas as quickly as possible so you can follow along with us. That's your starting point. Understand that in that first class, that where the second and third Zooms where we do these introductory speeches, you need to understand one thing that's very important. There are going to be some people that are better speakers than you. Don't worry about it. Your grade in this class is not based on any other student's speaking abilities. It is based on my assessment over the course of the semester of your improvement. So if you suck now, but suck much less at the end of the term, chances are you're going to get a pretty good grade. Also turn in the assignments on time, okay? I should tell you, I have 4 public speaking classes this semester, each with about 35 students in it. So that's, 140 students. I will be watching basically 4 times, about 700 speeches this term. So try to get things in on time in the way that I tell you so I don't have to go hunting all over the place. Okay, after the intro speech, about 2 weeks later, you will present to the class what is called an occasional speech. Here's how that works. First of all, it's worth 100 points, so you want to start to pay attention here. An occasional speech is just what it sounds like. How many of you have been to a wedding, or a funeral, or a quince party, or a bar mitzvah, or a christening, or a bris, whatever? Those are all occasional speeches. How many of you played sports? How many of you were in the locker room before the big game and the coach gave you a speech to rally the troops so you do your best? That too is an occasional speech. Anybody ever watch the Oscars or the Grammys? The person who announces and introduces the person getting the award, that's an occasional speech. The person who receives the award and thanks everybody, that's an occasional speech. So you got lots of choices here, and you can do something that's true or you can steal something from a movie. I don't care. What I'm concerned about is your presentation. And again, don't worry about how this goes. I spoon feed this to you because I understand the fears that some people have. I also understand that some people don't understand how to seem credible in a speech. Now, I'm your speaking teacher, so hopefully I know what I'm talking about. But even I will use references and say, well, this is taken from this source, credible source. And you will start to use credible sources as we get further into the term here. The last 2 speeches require references. Okay, so the final 2 speeches will not be presented live. They will be recorded by you and sent to me online through the mysterious new system. It's like Multivite, or I don't know what the hell it is, but it's something. We'll all figure it out together. Your third speech is the informative speech. This is a 3 to 4 minute speech, and here's what you get to do. You get to teach us something. It can be anything. It can be, let's say you come from another country and you notice that in the United States, the view that you see of your country doesn't really look at all like your country. And you want to tell us about the beauty and the wonder and all these things, and you want to show us some PowerPoint presentation or something like that. That's fine. All of that can be done in the informative speech. It can be you can talk about a person that you greatly respect. famous or not, a hobby of yours, a passion of yours. I've had people do origami. I've had people play guitars. I had a girl come in with a violin and a viola, show us the difference. I had a girl who was a singer, teach us all how to properly sing Happy Birthday. I love when I have hospitality students in the in-class class because they make cookies. But, we don't get that this time, and I don't need any more cookies, frankly. I've already put on the COVID-19. Anyway, if you're a musician, tell us why, and maybe play the instrument. For this speech, you will also write your first outline. I will encourage you to maybe write an outline for your occasional speech as well. And an outline is simply, it's like an essay. Tell me what you're going to say. Tell me the 3 points you want to make. Back them up with a reference. Tell me what you said. That's what it comes down to. This helps keep you on track and make sure that you emphasize the important points of your speech. The other thing about the informative speech is that it is worth 200 points, 20% of the total grade. Take it seriously. Finally, late in the term, we have the persuasive speech. This is a 4 to 5 minute speech and is the most technically difficult one to deliver. And the speech is worth 300 points, 30% of your grade. Again, I will do a lecture and walk you through all the aspects of a persuasive speech. We don't need to get into that today. I'm sure you got a lot to deal with this week. Before the informative and persuasive speeches are due, we will have a guest visitor, a fellow who is a research librarian, either him or someone on his staff, will come on to the Zoom meeting and explain to you how to do research. One of the things that you don't know, probably, is that 60% of the library's budget and 60% of the library's information is not in the library. It's online. It's in the dark web. And they pay a hell of a lot of money for it. There are companies that gather all kinds of research so that you can find whatever you want on any subject. Once you hear this, and I'm ashamed that they don't teach you this in orientation, once you know about this, this gives you a step up on everybody else in any class you take, because you're going to know how to find answers. The other thing about research librarians, and there are several of them at the university, they are your personal detectives. These are people that are excited about finding out crap they don't know about. You can ask anything, and they will hunt with you until it's found. Hopefully you can find it yourself, but if you can't, you email the librarian. You can do a chat online with a research librarian. They will not quit until you find out what you need to find out. Okay? It'll guide you to the easiest ways to research your subject and the subject that you choose for the persuasive speech. Again, don't worry about that now. That is the gist of the speeches, okay? Use this first week of the term to listen or read, obviously, this presentation. Get the textbook, which is cleverly called, what is it called? Public Speaking. What do you think? It's listed in the syllabus on Canvas, very early in the syllabus. I believe the 3rd edition is available as an online book only. I don't care if you use the 2nd edition or the 3rd edition, steal one from an old student. We'll work it out. The chapters are pretty damn similar. If you do want to use the 3rd edition, and if you buy the online version, which is the only one I think is available, if you buy it within the next 2 weeks, I believe you save 40% on the cost. So contact the FIU bookstore and get the book. You want to read chapters 1 and 2 prior to our first Zoom session, if you can. If you don't, everybody will live, but the more you can keep up with me, the easier it's going to be for you to get where you need to get with this class. That should do it, okay? I want you to check your email for a copy of this entire lecture, and there's a second email that will be coming to you with the schedule of meetings, assignments, homework, all that crap. Okay? Welcome to class. I hope you're staying safe. Please take this seriously. We happen to have a term that goes right through the presidential election. Although I might, in fact, care who you vote for, I mostly care that you vote. If you are of voting age, for Christ's sakes, register. Thank you. Anyway, looking forward to meeting you all. Have a lovely day. Those of you who have classes with me later this week, we will have our first Zoom meeting. Some of you won't have our Zoom meeting with me until next Monday. At any rate, stay happy. Very nice to say hello to you all, and I look forward to seeing you in person, sort of, on Zoom. Bye-bye.